Good evening. I'm Renee Powell with Oklahoma Family Network, and welcome to Toolbox Tuesday. We are so very fortunate to have Sarah Wyrick, co-founder and president of the Sam the I Can Man Foundation. Sarah is the co-founder and president of the Sam the I Can Man Foundation. That's a private operating foundation that empowers individuals with disabilities through grants for equipment, activities, experiences, as well. And these are things that insurance typically doesn't cover. As Sam's older sister, Sarah's passion for advocacy began at an early age. Growing up alongside her younger brother, who had Aicardi-Goutieres syndrome, she became one of his caregivers and learned firsthand the importance of using her voice to amplify those of individuals with differing abilities. Sam's perseverance, joy, and unwavering belief that anything was possible continue to inspire both Sarah and the foundation's mission. Before leading the foundation, she spent 6 years as a professional actress and 3 years as a virtual assistant. Today, she is honored to carry on Sam's legacy by helping individuals and families overcome barriers and discover the power of believing, as Sam always did. I can too. So, thank you so much for being here, Sarah. Um, would it be okay to start out with some questions about Sam?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay, for those meeting Sam for the first time, who was Sam Wyrick and why was he known as the I Can Man?
Sam Wyrick was a vibrant young man who had a significant disability that made it so he could not walk or talk and needed full-time assistance, but he did not let his disability define who he was. In fact, I would say there are many other things that defined him. And he became known as the I Can Man because he wanted to do and try everything and he wanted to be everywhere he could. So he some people just started calling him the I Can Man, and it caught on for our family and many others because he did it despite probably if you were to look at him thinking he can't do it. So, but he
Wow, that's incredible. So kind of on to the diagnosis. How old was Sam when he was diagnosed, and kind of like what did the diagnostic journey look like for your family?
Yeah, so Sam was initially diagnosed with a general leukodystrophy at about 5 months old after he went to the doctor and was not tracking light. They initially thought he could be blind or there could have been other things, but eventually an MRI showed a lack of myelin development. His specific diagnosis came at age 7 after our family went to the United Leukodystrophy Foundation meeting and presented his case to neurological experts in the leukodystrophy field. Um,
Mm.
so my mom was the one who took that journey on. And then the gene for Aicardi-Goutieres syndrome, also known as AGS, had been discovered around that time, and Sam was one of the first to be officially diagnosed with AGS. For for the diagnostic journey, it was very up and down for a while. Most leukodystrophies were expected to lead in early death, and doctors predicted that Sam would lose functions like swallowing and he'd die before the age of 2.
Oh,
So, but many leukodystrophies has flares, then cause regression. So, uh, my parents, I was at a young age, so I say my parents, but they were constantly on edge of wondering if that could happen at any time. And probably for his first 3 years, as my mom says, he was sick for much of it. And but then he continued to remain healthy and happy, and that was kind of one of the first signs of his I can spirit, as he just kept persevering. So.
wow, that's incredible. So talking about Sam, tell us about some of his greatest strengths and just who he was as a person. I mean, what did he like to do? Just tell us a little bit about him, if you
Yeah,
would mind. Is that okay?
of course. I love talking about Sam. He was a hard worker. I mean, He was always determined to, if it was trying to walk in his walker, if it was holding his head up at therapeutic riding lessons, if it was working on his eye gaze communication device. He was such a hard worker and really wanted to get it. And so he really did. And he was always happy and willing to do anything when with absolutely no fear and baffles me because I'm always scared to do anything. I mean, he would do zip lines and he went Grand Canyon river rafting with my parents at
Wow.
one point. Um, but yeah, he also just trusted and loved everyone around him and um, always kind of lit up a room and with his smile and his laugh and was very much a jokester. He'd love when I would walk by and he'd just throw his right hand out and completely smack me or uh, very brotherly love, I like to say.
Sounds like a typical little brother.
Yes, exactly.
It sounds like he was an adventurous person, and that's something that I could use a
Hmm.
little bit more of that spirit. Um, so, uh, to some challenges, would you mind telling us some of the challenges that he faced and how
Yeah.
he might have overcome them in his own way, given he was so adventurous, lit up a room?
Um, yeah, I mean, obviously you have the challenges that come with the disability itself of he was not able to speak or physically move in a typical way, and he needed assistance in doing almost everything. So from feeding to drinking some water to bathing and all of that. But um he didn't let that stop him from communicating with us what he liked and what he didn't like. I say he tried everything. That doesn't mean he loved everything. I think there are many things that at times he didn't love when he was young. Skiing was not his favorite because he didn't like how cold it was, and he was sure to tell everyone that versus he grew to love it later on. He kept trying it out and um but he worked hard and he just loved being with people. So even if like he was at therapy and it was hard, so he'd be with his friends and his family and um he loved being out of the house. So I think no matter what, even if something was hard for him, but he was in an environment he was happy, he really continued to persevere and he just he had just an awesome attitude and really trusted the people who supported him. So his therapist, his teachers, I mean, everyone who was always an advocate for him. He loved to be around them.
Well, Um, so, mentioning therapies, experiences, equipment, or
Mhm.
intervention, what would you say made the biggest difference for Sam? I mean, probably all of it, but
Yeah.
um,
Um,
you can kind of narrow, just give us
yeah, I'd
examples.
I'd say so. Shriners Hospital for Children.
Oh,
They were wonderful. They allowed Sam to get chairs fitted to him, walkers, and a travel wheelchair. So it made traveling for us easier as a family. It also gave him a lot of opportunities to try different therapies, and some of them worked, and some of them he was like, "Yeah, this is not for me." Um, PT and OT, speech therapy, all of those made a huge difference in preventing like regression in him and helping him to continue build skills. I mean, we learned how to communicate with Sam. He was really good at telling us yes and no questions, but we didn't want the communication to stop there. So then like getting him with like the Dynavox eye gaze device, he was able to tell us if we programmed it, he could tell us about his day and he could play music for us. So a lot of those things helped him be independent while still being in a chair. Um, we grew up in Utah, so we were really lucky to have a ton of adventure and recreational opportunities that helped him learn what he could do. Even if it had adaptation, he learned like, I mean, he was always doing different things, skiing, hiking, zip lining, th equestrian therapy. So,
oh.
And then one that he really loved, I mean, he loved horses. So that was one of his big ones. So equestrian therapy got him around animals, and I think that what he had a different connection to animals than I think any of us could ever have. But another one was swim therapy because we were able to get adaptive equipment for him to be able to swim independently in the pool. I mean, with supervision, we're always around or someone swimming with him, but he was able to be by himself and kick around and swim around a pool, and he loved water. So finding those things that kind of got him his own little independence with his limitations.
Got you. What does the adaptive equipment look like for swimming?
So he started with a butterfly collar. It was actually a swim teacher that he
Mm,
had designed it. And it's a piece of foam that would go under his neck and it'd clip in the back with like a dog collar. It
mm,
was big. And then eventually he had issues with aspirating water, and we didn't want him to get pneumonia or things like that. So I found one that was in Australia and we
uh,
had it shipped, and it's one that he would sit in and then you'd put like an inner tube under his armpits and he'd be able to kind of sit and float back, but it'd keep his neck a little
okay.
further away from the water so he wouldn't drink water. But even though he would do it on purpose just to kind of get a rise out of my mom and my dad and I.
Wow. I'm just loving hearing about how adventurous and all of the things that, I mean, the zip lines scare the pants off of me.
Yeah,
Um,
me too.
and, right. So given, how did your family adapt, home routines or daily life to support Sam?
You know, as Sam, from a young age, he was very small. So for a while, my parents were able to do a lot of the lifting of him, getting, and me as well. But eventually he grew and he was almost he was a grown man. I mean, he was 23 when he passed. So he was
Yeah.
tall and skinny, and so throughout his life, they continued to add equipment to support him, like tilt wheelchairs, hygiene chairs, shower
Mm,
tub seats, lifts. We had adapted vans for him to get him in and out of the car. Swim floats, like I said, braces, therapy seats. I mean, ramps, crawlers. My parents remodeled their home in when we lived in Utah, and they added an elevator and a therapy pool in for him because of um, the things that they saw thrived his life. And then they also always were looking for activities to get him involved, and especially alongside children of all abilities. They didn't want him to just be restricted to children with differing abilities. All abilities was really important. So we were lucky that there were quite a few things offered in Utah. The National Ability Center in Park
oh,
City, Utah, does wonderful things where they host camps, that they do skiing, they do horseback riding. They also do it where if a family wants to experience it for a week, they and other foundations can help get the family out there. And they have housing where they could stay for a week and do activities. So that's one thing that was in our backyard. We also did dance and art classes, and I did these with him. So that's like a wonderful like sibling thing that we got to do is we took swim lessons together, we took dance lessons, we did art classes, and a lot of other people, it was like sibling camps and sibling things. And then my mom eventually stopped working until my brother went to school. And then she pursued work in the disability community, and she was a parent consultant for a Utah Parent Center. So
wow.
that kind of changed her routine of she took what she knew from Sam and she went out to help other families in the Salt Lake City School District. And then
Wow.
I don't know, we continued traveling as a family. We just had to make sure it was accessible, and it's just And now that's things that we always look at, even traveling
Yeah.
without Sam. We like to see when things are accessible. Is this a place somebody like Sam could be and something they
Um,
could enjoy? So,
did you say a hiking chair or hygiene chair?
hygiene chair. He also
Oh,
had a
okay.
hiking chair though too. So,
Okay. See, I heard hiking chair.
yeah,
Um,
he had a hiking chair that worked as also a cross-country skiing chair.
wow.
So, and he eventually outgrew it. That's such the hard thing about a lot of these
Um,
pieces of equipment. They're so expensive, and not every individual is going to stay the same size, especially if you're getting one for when they're at a young age and when they're an adult. So,
yeah. Um,
yeah.
when I look for accessibility, wherever I go. And when we had just gone on a vacation, they had a beach chair that was available at a state park. You just had to request it.
Yeah.
And it looked like it had tank treads. It was the
Yeah.
coolest. I had no idea they made things like that. It was,
Oh my gosh, my parents have rented one a few times and they used to try to just take his travel wheelchair and just drag it on the beach, but those don't have the big tires that you need for getting across the sand. And when they rented one for the first time, they were like, this is a game changer for us. And also helps to get him more in the water because they're
yeah,
waterproof as well.
up to like 4 inches. I
Yeah.
was told they get to submerge. So, oh yeah, let's see. Um, I love the fact that you guys did so much as a family. What did Sam teach your family about the ability to have the possibility that things can happen, perseverance and joy?
Um, I mean, his I can too attitude has definitely been our kind of staple for a family. I mean, it always was with him, but even more so now without him is to continue to have that same attitude of are always going to be some roadblocks in the way, but there's no reason you might be able to find a different path and continue on and keep with that I can too attitude. I mean, I don't know. We were because he was willing to try anything, I
Yeah.
think we were willing to try anything. I mean, with
Yeah,
not without scare, not without a
sure.
little bit of
Sure.
hesitation, but we really had to trust in him that he would know if he didn't like it and he would tell
Yes.
us. So
Yes.
I think that gave us a lot of encouragement. I mean,
Would
and
you?
we did
Oh,
everything with him. I mean, we went out to dinner, we went to to theaters to see musicals together. I mean, it was just for us, it wasn't an option to not have total inclusion for him because he just made everything better, in our opinion.
um, speaking of his I can too spirit, can you
Mhm.
share a story that might best capture it
Um,
in particular?
yeah.
You can think of
I'm
one.
trying to think of one.
Can you
I
tell
mean,
us about the zip lining?
yeah. Oh, I actually have a swimming with the dolphins one, which is
Oh, yes. Oh, please tell
also
us that. Tell us that one.
terrifying. So we were in Cancun, Mexico. It was summer, and my dad, his business took us out there, so our family decided to go for a vacation. And we went to go swim with the dolphins, and he loved it. He loves animals, so he's in the water. He has his life jacket on. My mom's helping him. He's getting to like pet the dolphins, do everything we're doing. And then it comes to the point where they are telling me and my cousin that what we're gonna do is you're gonna go lay flat out on in the water. Your feet are gonna be flexed like this, and the dolphin is gonna come and push with their two dolphins are gonna come, push with their nose behind, and you're gonna like arch your back in the air, and you're gonna be pushed into the air by the dolphins. So all of us did it, and then these men who work at the dolphin excursion in Mexico were like, and does he want to do it? And we were like, oh, I just don't know how that would go because if he goes underwater and he inhales water, he could aspirate, and that could be very dangerous. But he had the biggest smile on his face and he was getting so excited because he knew he was like, I just saw all three of them do it. I want to do it. And so my dad was like, how could we do this? And there was this big buff guy and he said, well, I'll just hold him in the air and I'll do it. And my mom's like, don't let his head go underwater. I'm like almost crying because I'm worried about it. And he did it. He swam with the dolphins. He was in the air. He got higher than everyone else. They pushed him in the air and his head went underwater once, but it came out really quick and he didn't and he was fine. And he had the biggest smile and laugh on his face after that happened. So, yeah.
Gosh, I mean, seriously, talk about adventurous dolphins. Wow.
Yeah.
Gosh. So about your foundation, what inspired your family to create the I Can Man Foundation? I apologize, stumbling over
No,
words.
you're fine. So it had always kind of been in the back of our head, I think, for years. My parents had always talked about how um, lucky they felt to be able to be in a financial position to do a lot of these things for Sam, get him the extra equipment that insurance doesn't cover, take him on the Grand Canyon river rafting experience, get him in the equestrian therapy. And that didn't come until a little bit later on in his life, once my parents felt more financially secure and had a grasp on Sam and who Sam was. And then it got to he was transitioning out of school and he was sitting down with his teachers and my parents, and everyone's saying, well, what's next for Sam when he's not going to school every day? And my parents kind of threw this idea at it and they kind of loved it. And we were like, well, how could Sam be involved? And he was going to be the face. He was going to be in all the interviews with us. But then there was also maybe going to be a social media side to it all where he was going to be going out in the community and rating yes or no. Do I think this is accessible? Do I think this is fun for people like me? So there was that side of the foundation that Sam was going to be on, and then the other side was going to be um, us and doing the grant giving. When he passed, I mean, we were going to do it the same year in our timeline as a family. It was going to be in the same year that we launched. It was also going to be the same year, and it was going to be with Sam, but it ended up being without Sam. So it just only felt right for us to continue on and focus on the grant giving side for us. And but yeah, that's kind of the inspiration behind it.
Got you. Um, it- did his diagnosis of AGS influence the creation of the Sam I Can Man Foundation?
Not exactly. I think
Gotcha.
it was more so that it was just we wanted to people like Sam and people with even very and there's so many differing abilities in.
Yeah.
Um, we wanted just to make sure that opportunities were there because I think when Sam was diagnosed, my parents were given a laundry list of here's everything your son is never going to be able to do. And in reality, there are many things that he can do, and it might just be with adaptation. So, um, I think there was maybe some fuel to the fire behind the diagnosis and being told this is what he won't be able to do. So
Got you.
gave the
Um,
opposite.
what do you hope families feel when they hear the phrase, if Sam can, I can too?
Um, I hope they feel like they're they're seen, their individual is seen. I think so many parents and siblings go through, I know my person can do this, but you're telling me they can't, and how can I make it happen for them? And um I hope they know that like we are trying to help them find a way to get that support as well and help ease some of the financial burden because things are not, if insurance isn't covering them, things are not cheap.
Accessible. Yeah.
accessible.
Um,
So in the financial way. So yeah.
yes. So on to some of the programs that the
Yeah.
foundation does. What types of grants does the foundation provide?
So we've categorized it under like activities, experiences, and equipment. So activities, those kind of go from your typical, I would say like your therapies, things like that. I know we've done some like music therapies, we've done some swim lessons for an individual with autism so they could learn water safety. Um, and then experiences are more those kind of once in a lifetime things, are not as like it's not like a frequent, like you're not going to lessons of some sort or you're not going to therapy sessions of some sort. So we had someone who went to see OKC Thunder play and they got to do a recess with Rumble. So they got to meet a bunch of mascots as well as Rumble. Um, we've had a family go to, we've helped them fund just going to like Disneyland for a day, just that, those kind of one-offs. And then equipment. I mean, equipment, there's so many adaptive equipment. I've learned about so many, but like a Huckleberry hiking chair. We've purchased swim devices for people, and some of these swim devices are coming from other countries, so you're uh it takes a while to get them ordered, but they're important because you know what's best for your individual. So, um, swings for backyards, like play sets where they can roll the chair up onto the swing themselves, and so. I could name off a ton of different ones that we've done in those, but those are kind of our three categories, and then we try to make sure it has the I can attitude behind it. So, um, you know, what does like the equipment do? How does it tell your I can story? I mean, our family, we had a family, they were like, we love to hike, but every chair we try, the tread on the wheels doesn't work. So it would just bring that I can of our family can do this all together. Um, the the Thunder experience, I mean, it was just something like this little girl loved watching the games and dancing to the Thunder on TV, and they just wanted her to be able to experience that in person. Um, and then therapies, I mean, my music therapy, that's wonderful. So you never know what type of therapy, and outside of PT and OT, there are so many different ones that um, people benefit so much from. My brother, like specifically equestrian therapy, was monumental for him because he loved animals. And it just worked his hips in a different way. It made him sit up on the horse and he had to hold his head up, and his head control was one of the things he struggled with. So, um, it's just, yeah, those are the I can stories behind them is what we like to hear with the
Okay.
things we do.
Um, so, um, w- and I feel like you've already kind of touched on it, but can you explain to people why grants for adaptive equipment and inclusive experiences are so very important for families as well as to the individual?
I think it breaks down a lot of barriers that sometimes are put in front of you. I mean, you never know if it's a different kind of therapy you want to try out, and um I know my child responds really well when I put a song on and they light up. So why not try something like music therapy? Because maybe if you're struggling with speech, that could be a way to get them out and doing new things. And then equipment, I mean, equipment especially, it can help you get out in the community. It's not only beneficial to the individual and the family, but it's also beneficial. And this is the same with experiences and activities. It's so beneficial for the community as well to see that. inclusion of people with all abilities is important. So someone at a Thunder game, someone um, at Disneyland experiencing the rides just like anyone else is. And then people out hiking, people swimming. I mean, all of that stuff is, it just breaks down a lot of barriers and it really shows the importance of inclusion, in my opinion.
Um, so what kinds of requests might surprise people that might actually qualify for funding through one of your grants?
Um, let's
And
see.
maybe it doesn't surprise them, but
Um, I mean, some people have just needed help, like renting a adaptive van on a vacation. I mean, they might have the vacation set for themselves and everything, but renting a specifically an already adapted van is very important. So, I would say that would be one that would be kind of surprising is that we have done or we've been in talks to do something like that. Or I mean, a lot of therapies people get surprised that we're willing to help fund them because they've gotten turned down so many times by insurances and things like that. And also I think people uh if they are looking for a piece of equipment, and let's say it's like a $26,000 piece of equipment, we we can't necessarily give 26,000, but that doesn't mean we can't give $2,500 to the fund to help get you a little bit closer to that piece of equipment. So I think that might be something that people are surprised. We're always willing to see what we can do and have the conversation. That's my biggest thing is if you don't know if it would qualify, throw the application out there. Talk to us because maybe if it's not that specific thing, but you're going on a vacation and it's like, well, have you gotten this? Have you gotten this? And it's like, oh no. And it's like, well, we might be able to actually fund that other part of it. And if that's something you're open to, we can rework your application to be for that. So we just want to have the conversation, to be honest.
um, how do you guys decide which applications to fund?
So we go through an interview process. So our first thing is filling out the form. And then from there, we ask you to schedule an interview with us. We ask for 30 minutes of your time via Zoom. We hope to not only meet the person filling out the form if it's not the individual with the differing ability, but we also hope to potentially meet the person with the differing ability. We know schools and things that make scheduling hard, but we love to put a face to a name. So once we go through all of those, then we sit down and we just kind of look at what we can give. And we also always try ask the question, if we can't give you your full amount, are you open to a partial funding? Because we want to be able to help as many people as we can in each and every granting cycle. So, um, if you don't set up an interview, the application is considered not, it won't be considered for the round. That is our one like requirement for it is you have to be present for an interview. So,
Are there any more qualities that stand out in a successful application? We obviously schedule the interview.
yeah. Uh,
Uh,
we just every story is different and you can't compare each of them. I mean, they're all wonderful and they're all different in their own way. I mean, I can't, yeah, there's not a perfect like recipe
okay,
to
okay,
the
gotcha.
perfect application. Biggest thing is we love to get to meet them.
Okay.
And that's just we love to get to hear them so about
Yeah,
them and like what they love and just get a little taste of who they are. I mean, you read so much on paper and that's why we do the interview. Because
gotcha.
talking to somebody is so much different than reading it on paper. So,
Definitely. Kind of what I'm hearing too is you really want to um, honor that I can to
Yeah.
spirit and how that's going to, impact their family and that
Yeah.
individual. Um, so how can professionals refer families to the foundation and support them through the application process? How does that work?
So we, I mean, we have our form that you can fill out if you want to hear about application news. Professionals, I can fill that out even if they themselves are not filling out the application. They can then go on our email list and they're notified about when applications become um, open and when they're getting ready to close and things like that. And I think that's big because I know families, they get so busy taking care of their individuals and with
Yeah.
all the other stuff. So having professionals be on that list who can give them the extra nudge of, oh, let me help you, or you can come and I'll help you sit down and fill out the form. I think that's the biggest thing. The applications can be intimidating, and I totally
Yes.
understand that. I mean, it's not, it's, but and it's also like if I've been in touch with a professional or anything like that, there is a question where it's like, how did you hear about us? Tell us that you heard about it through this professional. They helped advocate for you to fill out the form, and those things don't go unnoticed by us. So
Yeah. Yeah. Um, so for families who may be hearing about the foundation for the first time, could you walk us through the application process? It's just
yeah, so we do two cycles a year. We do a spring and a fall. Kind of found that like spring can help fund some of those summer activities. Fall can help you have a different need in the fall of what you're looking at with the school year and things like that, and holidays. Maybe you're looking to get a really cool piece of equipment for Christmas or something, and that's could be like a fun thing to do.
okay.
So we open our applications up for a full month. So our next one will open up September 1st and it'll close the last day of September and then at midnight. And then after that, about a week later, you'll get a email asking you to schedule an interview. And we do about a 2 week block to do these interviews. We found that we can get most of them done. And if there's, for whatever reason, if you're traveling and it doesn't, and you catch the email right at the beginning and you were to email me and be like, I cannot do something in that week because of A, B, C, and D, then we work with the families, or maybe there's nothing in the time slots that we listed available that work for the families. We'll work with you to try to figure out a time. Now, unfortunately, if you catch on the last day, oh, I just got this, I'm so sorry. We have to just close them at that point. Just we're often doing 40 of these, or if not more, in 2 weeks. So but then we do the interviews and then basically everything, we start reviewing things ourselves and we tried to so timeline for the fall one is September would be open. We do interviews mid-October. Um, and then we do, uh, we turn around and try to notify families. It would be by end of October.
Okay.
So, we try to do a quick turnaround just because we know sometimes you can apply for a grant and you don't hear anything for 6 months, and it's just like, do I apply for another grant for that or do I not? So, that's the timeline. So, and then yeah,
Gotcha.
but
Um,
yeah.
what advice might you give to parents who might hesitate to apply because they think someone might need the help more?
I would say that there's no such thing as someone needs something more, and we all know everyone if they have a person who has a differing ability in their life, there are things that like everyone needs, and no request is too small. I mean, we've had so many families who they really want to get their child with autism in swim lessons because water safety is so important. But they were like, I know there's other kids who need maybe need a piece of equipment more or something. And it's really, that's when we love to do the crunching of numbers if we can and be like, okay, well, if we can't pay for a full session of swim lessons, how would you feel about like a half session? And that's kind of when we love to, if families are open to that, I think that's really great because then that just gives, there's more room to spread the love to everyone. And also, we, if we can't fund it that cycle, we'll talk to you and say, but we're willing to just automatically roll your application over to the next granting cycle. And if that's something you're open to, we absolutely will honor that because no request is too small.
Wow.
There's a need for everything.
I love that you've made that application process more family friendly by, if we can't pay for the whole thing, would you be open to a partial or, you have a great application, let's roll you in on the next
Mhm.
cycle. That's
We've
fantastic.
even we've even had ones where we've gotten into the interview with families and they've realized, oh, but this is like a year out that we would need this. And it's like, okay, so let's put a pause on this for right now and let's revisit it in the fall or let's revisit it in the spring. And that's been really great. And sometimes it's just having those conversations really helps. And that's why I love the interviews.
Got you. Um, what unmet needs do you commonly see that traditional funding or insurance doesn't address? Do you have one that's, yeah,
A lot of equipment insurance doesn't. I mean, they do your basic things like your hygiene chair, your one wheelchair every couple
yeah,
years, but let's say your family again loves hiking or they love running, getting a piece of a chair that's specialized for that that your child can grow into is so important. Or getting we got someone it's called a pea pod chair and it just helps like their child loves to lay out. It helps because they're sitting in a chair all day, but this is another way that they cannot be in their chair, but they can get the support and be involved and sit at the level of their family and not be like laying on the floor and stuff. It's a little bit more of like a structured beanbag, I like to say. So a lot of that stuff does not get covered by insurance, and I think those are important. And then I think there's a lot of therapies out there that are new, and so insurance is a little bit maybe scared of them, or it's just not a standard therapy. It could be your music therapy, it could be your water therapy. Um, those kinds of things I think are just as important and just because you it's hard because you want to try new things because you never know what's going to be the one that works for your individual. Um, but finances come into play and all of that. So, helping build that barrier is
that's
or down that
awesome.
barrier is important to us.
How can healthcare providers, therapists, educators, and social workers um, help connect families with resources like the foundation, or how can they be involved?
I would say uh keeping our information and knowing when our applications open. Uh we do a March um and a September open application. So because a lot of those things get lost for families of keeping a date of, oh, this one's open now is
Yeah.
hard because when you're looking at a bunch of grants. So
Sure.
helping them remember those dates and um having our information on hand. So maybe helping if they have a question, but they don't know if they might be afraid to ask, or they might just not have the time to ask. Going and advocating and talking to us on behalf of them is always open, and we welcome that. So,
Um, just in your experience, what types of requests seem to have the greatest impact on the family as well as the individual with different abilities? And you might not be able to answer that one, but
yeah, I was gonna
yeah,
say that's so hard because
I
they
know,
all
right?
have such great impact. Their just impacts are different.
Yeah,
I think
and that
I think anything that I mean, all of them help take a financial burden off that I know is a weight. on people's shoulders. So,
Mm.
I think anything like that and um the extra piece of equipment, I mean, my mom and I love looking at like new pieces of equipment. We're like, "Oh, Sam would have loved that," or something like that. That's one of our things. And then I don't know, it's fun to hear the stories about when families see their do an experience and they see such a different personality come out in their individual, or maybe it's just something they've kind of gotten glimmers of and they want to see more of it. So I think those have can have great impact. I mean, you just start to see them become who they are and then I think those are great ones.
Yeah. Wow. So as far as inclusion goes, what would you recommend for how can communities become more welcoming and accessible for individuals with differing abilities?
Think any new business, if you're opening, you got to think about the people who need the ramp, who need not tables and like walking. My mom and I, whenever we walk into a store and it's shelf to shelf with knickknacks, and it's like, oh, we'd never be able to walk a wheelchair through this. Like all of those little things are so important. So, when you don't know, ask the question to people who have lived it or who are living it because that's how you make it welcoming and
Mm.
accessible. You open the conversation. You don't just say, well, we think we did it the way we did it, but I think that's probably like the biggest thing. One of my mom and I's favorite stories is our family friend. He does museum exhibits and he was doing one and he was asking my mom and he showed her kind of everything and he was like, "Is it accessible?" And she goes, "You know what? It is because there's so many things he can do at this level. And then there's
Mm.
so many other things that other kids can explore even more, but like there's still so much that he can experience. And then there's sensory inclusion for people who have sensory issues and it's just, it's cool when people come and they just ask the question and they open the conversation. I think that's probably one of the biggest things that communities can do.
Gotcha. So just having a seat at the table and coming
Yes,
to you directly, as
exactly.
opposed to just assuming that it is. Um, what misconceptions about folks with differing abilities would you most like people to change? I know it's a
I
broad
would
question.
I would say don't tell them they can't do it. There's no
Yeah,
reason they can't. It just means that you might have to approach it a different way. You might have to be open to figuring out a way they can do it, but just because you're scared of it, don't tell them no.
I love that. Um, um, because, you know, have you encountered misconceptions from, professionals or the public about adaptive equipment or disability inclusion? Have you run into any barriers like that?
Um, not not necessarily. I can just people are scared of what they don't know, I would
Yeah.
say. And I mean, my mom and I experienced it with my brother. We were scared, and so did my dad. We were scared of the unknown. And it's okay to live in the unknown, but don't let it scare you and just give it a try. And I would think that's like that goes overall from families to professionals to the public, because that's what puts limitations on things,
Gotcha.
fear and saying no. So be willing to try. Is probably, yeah.
Okay, so yeah, because I can, right? I
Hmm.
can kind of sums it up. So
Yeah.
looking ahead for your organization, what are your hopes for the future of the Sam the I Can Man Foundation?
I mean, it's it's already floored us with how it's grown in just a year,
Oh,
or
yeah.
in a little over a year. Um, I would say my hopes are just to continue Sam's legacy and telling his story, but also help being an advocate and elevating the stories of other individuals who have their own ICANN. And um, yeah, that's probably.
Um, you mentioned that the foundation has been in existence for about a year. How has it grown?
I mean, we've we were floored with how many donations we received from people in the community who knew our family. But with that, and then, we didn't know how it was going to go and how many applications we would get. And it was kind of like we were just throwing stuff at a wall and seeing what was going to stick. So I would say it's been amazing to just see there's so many stories like Sam, and they're similar but they're different, and they all have their own spunk and energy to them, and I love that. And um it's just, yeah, I want to say like last year we did 54, we funded 54 individuals, and or 54 applications. Some of them can go to nonprofits with aligning missions, and some of them, majority of them, go to individuals. But uh this year, just within our first cycle, I think we did around 50. So wait,
Wow.
yeah. So it'll it's insane to be like, oh my gosh, the numbers are already doubling, and we already are getting so many applications in, and it's exciting, and it definitely fuels the fire for us that we know what we're doing is needed.
Wow. Um, eh, what types of partnerships would you like to build with other entities like hospitals, therapy clinics, schools, or other disability organizations across Oklahoma?
I would say, I mean, we go to the resource fairs and everything, and people know us. People are starting to know us. I think it's word of mouth from individual family, or professional to
Okay.
professional. Would love to just be an overall resource that people are like, oh, this one might not be, we can't do what you're looking for, but I know of this other foundation that can, and you should look into them. So I'd love for that. And yeah, I mean, we are always looking for just more. I mean, my mom and I have a good handle on what's needed, but we also need to hear it from community members and professionals as well, because we're new to Oklahoma. We know it in Utah, we kind of knew it in Oklahoma, and it's good to just hear like, okay, there's such a need for this. There, I know there's even more a need for this too. Is it something you can consider? So I think it's, yeah, that kind of combo. That makes sense.
Um, how can community members, businesses, or organizations support your foundation's mission?
Um, I would say, I mean, the way we can give grants is we need funding. So whenever people have a extra, or they know of someone who's looking for maybe a unique mission to send funding towards, I would encourage them to send them our way. I'd also just say it getting the word out there just in general is so beneficial. I mean, even if you yourself can't add to the funding, that's totally fine. It's just as much to spread the mission that we do, and the I can too attitude. I think that's a huge thing.
Got you. Um, are there any volunteer opportunities or partnerships that you're currently seeking?
We are going to be soon discuss looking for, I mean, we have a small board. We started small on purpose, but we are looking to expand and hopefully get a parent or an individual themselves who has a differing ability on our board, or we're also looking for kind of like an advisory board. So if you don't want the full commitment of being a board member, there's the advisory. We're going to be starting an advisory board too, so we can hear more of what's happening in the community and like what's needed and that kind of stuff. So that's all stuff that's coming this fall and
Gotcha.
yeah.
Um, kind of in closing, if Sam were here today, what message do you think he would want to share with, families and people facing challenges?
Um, I'd probably say he'd want to tell him to not give up, keep
Okay.
trying. Um, Even if it gets hard some days, that doesn't mean that it won't pay off in the end. And um, truly, if you put your mind to it, that you can do it, and don't let the haters keep you down and just keep going. So,
I think it sounds like he might have made a joke.
yeah.
To
Oh, for
inspire.
sure. He'd probably add a funny little smirk and be like, say something, and you'd be like, really? And he'd want to get a laugh out of you. So,
Um, you know, uh, what does the I can to attitude mean to you personally?
um, I think there's a lot that, for when my brother passed, things could have gone very differently for my family and I. And you can live in your grief and you can let it drown you. But I think for me, the I can too really is what kept me going, knowing that I could help carry Sam's attitude, even if he wasn't physically here with me. He was always there spiritually with me. So I think that's probably one of the biggest things is there's a lot of things that for me I could have just been like, this isn't, I want to shy away from the disability community. It's too hard to be in it. But it actually, because of him and the I can too mentality, it made me want to keep going. And I mean, my biggest thing is if Sam can, I can too. So
Wow. So we've talked about quite a bit of topics here. Is there anything that we haven't talked about that you'd like folks across Oklahoma to know about your foundation or anything really?
um, no, I would say that if you have questions or if you maybe want inspiration on some of the things Sam did, you go visit our website. We have photos, we have lists of many things he did throughout his life. And that's not saying it has to be any of those certain things. It can just be inspiration of like, oh, I didn't know that they had these sort of things in the United States that I'd be able to go experience myself. So, um, I would say visit the website, and if there's any questions, to just reach out to the email, the contact form, and um, we're just here to support as much as we can.
Gotcha. I dropped your website into
Thank
the
you.
chat box, and that way folks can go and it really is a beautiful website, and it really is inspiring. I just even looking at it, it just makes me smile.
Thank
Um,
you.
his You are definitely carrying on his spirit, and it's your work is so inspiring, and thank you for doing what you do because finances really do place barriers on inclusion. I mean, I think it's incredible that you are keeping his legacy alive and you're passing it on. I mean, you're doing it right now. Um,
Thank you.
so,
Thank you. I know he'd love all of this.
oh, I'm just tickled. I mean, I've almost been in stitches hearing about the dolphin.
Thank-
And the zip lining, that's you
Yeah.
know, huge. But I guess if someone would like to reach out to you, it's just go through the contact form, and then that'd be the easiest way.
Contact form, or I believe our info at samtheicanman.org is also listed on the
Okay.
website. So, but if you just fill out the contact form, it gets to us and we'll respond either way. So,
Okay. Good deal. Well, thank you so much for being here and for all of the work that you do.